Due to the current political climate in the world, the term fascist has become pretty common these days, which made me ask myself, what actually is fascism? In its most simple definition, fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, and ultranationalist political ideology. That's a nice definition and everything, but what does that actually mean? Let's break down those components and see if we can explain it a little better, shall we? First, let's start with the authoritarian part. Authoritarianism is a political system where all the power is given to an individual, or a small group of individuals, and all political freedoms and choices are taken away from the public. In practice, that means that in an authoritarian country, the government has the power to kind of do whatever it wants. Normally, this is enforced through strong police and military power, strict laws, and by restricting civil liberties and rights. All dissent and opposition to the government is cracked down, all in pursuit of maintaining a strong country, and all atrocities committed by the government are justified as being for the good of the country. This type of language brings me to my next point, which is ultranationalism. This is an ideology that places the needs of a state over everything and everyone else. In practice, an ultranationalist government would seek to create and promote a strong sense of national identity and loyalty for one's country. This is often achieved through propaganda, control of the media, and manufactured narratives in the education system that can make the country look better. Under this ideology, any and all actions taken by the government are for the good of the country. This is why authoritarianism often comes joined with ultranationalism, as the government can keep a sense of peace and stability by framing their actions in a nationalist way, which allows them to justify anything they do, no matter how cruel. They can annex neighboring countries by claiming that they are expanding the country or reclaiming territory that rightfully belongs to our country, and anyone who opposes these views is considered a traitor to the nation. The third part of the equation is the far right. This is really what brings everything together and what distinguishes fascism from other authoritarian types of government. You see, conservative ideologies can help create the framework for authoritarian and ultranationalist ideologies. And there are many strategies deployed by conservatives to do this. A common talking point in fascist ideologies is the idea that the country used to be better in the past, when it embraced traditional values and anything modern and foreign is ruining our country. For example, when talking about modern ideologies like feminism, gender identity, and sexual freedoms, you can hear things like, these modern things are turning us into degenerates, we need to go back to our country's traditions, or if we reject these ideologies and embrace traditional values, we can make our country great again. When talking about immigrants and foreigners, you hear things like, these people are dirtying our country, or these immigrants are a bunch of criminals, if we kick them out we can make our country better. Of course, when these ideologies really get going, they can easily evolve into pure bigotry, misogyny, and race purity type shit. It gets out of control really quickly and can end up justifying some really heinous actions. These types of arguments also play into authoritarianism, as the only way to enforce these things is through a strong government who will get rid of everything ruining the country and take it back to its glory days or whatever. So basically, from all this we could say that fascism is a political system which promotes a strong, centralized government through nationalist and conservative discourse, all while vilifying and marginalizing anyone who doesn't adhere to the system. Right? Is this it? I'm honestly not an expert, but this is as best as I could understand it. Okay, now we're gonna talk a little bit about how fascism interacts with other ideologies and systems. Let's start with the left-wing ones. Communism and fascism are often at odds with each other. This is because, while communism can also have authoritarian and nationalist views, they usually have more progressive views and, at least ideologically, communism tends to favor the regular people over the elites, which goes in direct opposition to the fascist system of a few elites running the country. Liberal democratic ideologies are obviously a no-go for fascists, as it just kind of goes against everything they believe in. On the other hand, its relation to capitalism is a little bit more interesting. In principle, fascism opposes free markets and any power that doesn't obey the state, as is often the case with big companies. However, fascism isn't entirely opposed to the concepts of industrialization and rich people in general. Capitalists can reach compromises with fascist governments where, as long as they act under the government's interests, they can keep all the resources. This is convenient for capitalists, as with a government that doesn't really value human and social rights, they can basically do whatever they want with their workforce without fear of regulation. It's convenient for fascists as they can control the development of their country and keep the people employed, thus ensuring a certain level of order. Between a democracy with strong regulations and a dictatorship where you can rule as an oligarch, capitalists will more often than not choose the fascist system. Another interesting relation fascism has is with religion. Fascism can oppose religion, or to be more specific, the power of the church, as it is a power structure that can threaten the government, and if the religion is from another country, it can also threaten national identity. However, like it is the case with capitalism, if a church can reach a compromise with the government, there are ways they can coexist. After all, most churches already have traditional conservative values and a strict power structure of their own. If a church can implant themselves into a country's values, they can thrive under a fascist government. And if the church refuses to comply, the government can just kick them out. In this case, they have two options: declaring themselves as an atheist government or creating their own religion, which usually comes in the form of an offshoot of an already existing religion. This way, they can reinforce national identity with the government-approved mandatory religion with intrinsic nationalist and conservative values. So, why are we hearing about fascists more often these days? Well, in recent years, we've started to see far-right talking points slowly becoming more common. I mean, they've always been there in the background, but lately they've started to be discussed more openly by both the general public and the people in power. This is due to many things, like the left-wing social progress done in the 2010s, which I guess upset some people, the economic and political disruptions created by modern big events like the 2008 economic recession and the COVID pandemic, a growing distrust of traditional democratic institutions, and social media making it easier to spread fringe conservative ideologies to more moderate people. Slowly but steadily, more and more people are being absorbed into these ideologies, even if they're against their own interest. In some cases, some people don't even realize they've been discreetly indoctrinated into these beliefs. As with the popularization of charismatic conservative influencers, nationalist religions, and AI-generated content, they are being subtly advertised into far-right ideologies as normal and reasonable beliefs. We're also seeing more and more politicians and people in power delving into far-right populism to appeal to these conservative beliefs, all to get more support, even if they are not really aware of the damage they're doing, or in some cases being completely aware of the damage they're causing and just not giving a shit, as long as they get more power. These are troubling times. The best we can do is staying informed, having a critical mind when it comes to people in power, and, most importantly, caring about one another. We need to make sure that our friends and family are not falling for this conservative bullshit. Checking up on them, making sure they're not listening to anyone dangerous, and spreading awareness of these issues is a powerful thing you can do. if you want to stop these fascist ideologies from spreading. Hopefully, one day, we can leave these types of ideologies behind and make progress into a more equal, free world for everyone.